Today I want to explain sanctions, what they have been in the past and what they mean moving forward, especially with this growing world of decentralization and globalization with kind of removing borders, removing the need for anyone to do know your customer KYC, especially as we cover in the blockchain space, and how these sanctions aren't necessarily going to be able to apply to this new world with things like Web 3.0 and again blockchain technology basically remove this issue of sanctions. So essentially what sanctions are is one or more countries imposing their rules on another country. Okay, so specifically in this video, we're mainly focusing on economic sanctions. We can do another video discussing other types of sanctions, but essentially what you need to know as an investor is, let's say you're investing in something like Iran, an interesting emerging market that a lot of people have this kind of idea of, this thought of in their head, that basically pushes down a lot of prices. So Iran basically has faced a lot of sanctions from places like the US and many different countries based on their basically economic status and their governmental status. So with these sanctions, basically what they're telling them is, okay, you can only trade with this other country, or here is a tariff. So you have to pay this amount to export or import things. And what this essentially does is it puts guardrails on what a country can do, on what its like self-sovereignty is. And what this does, like if you're putting this guardrail around a whole country, well, each of the individual citizens inside that country that hold that citizenship, that hold that passport, have these imposed on them at birth. Now, is this fair? Let me ask you this question. Just think about that for a second. Okay, so you didn't choose where you were born. They didn't choose where they were born. So if you were born there, do you think it's fair? It's interesting because you're looking at it, like we're all looking at it from the perspective of, okay, like, oh, I'm a Canadian, or I'm an Australian, or I'm a European, or I'm an American. And of course it's fair because we put these rules on them. But really think deeply about it. It's kind of like a thought experiment. You didn't choose where you were born, right? So if you were born in Iran, this incredible emerging market I personally invested in there, I've actually considered doing a video on Iran as far as an emerging market investment opportunity. But are these sanctions really fair? In the past, obviously, we've passed these sanctions because, we make up kind of an excuse. And while sanctions do have their place in some areas, with Iran specifically, it hasn't been the case where it's really, these sanctions have really just hurt the people, the Iranian people. And it's quite interesting because it's really hurt business. And essentially, as I was saying, what sanctions do are they put this kind of guardrails on this group of people and don't look at it from the individual level. So just think about that for a second. Is it fair? And then we'll talk about where it's moving in the future. It's an interesting one. You can think about it or talk about it with someone else. I'd also be interested in the comments. Let me know what you think about these sanctions. But we'll keep this video kind of short and quick. But what I want to talk about is moving forward. As I was saying in the beginning of this video, with Web 3.0, with things like blockchain, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what your interests are. It doesn't matter what political party you like. None of those things matter. We're removing these these basically labels that we place upon people. Everyone's an individual human being. So it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter if you're born in Iran, born in Saudi Arabia, born in Turkey. I'm here in Istanbul, Turkey. Incredible people. A lot of people have a stigma on Turkey, but one of the things you have to understand is where we're moving to, none of these things matter. It's evening the playing field truly. And I've talked about this in past videos. We talk about like a free market. Well, this free market is only really free if you're in these societies where you're choosing the sanctions on other countries. Iran isn't putting sanctions on America, okay? So it's really just kind of hurting the little guy in a certain case. And that's why I personally see opportunities to hopefully help the community. I might not have a giant impact, but in a small way, help them by investing in emerging markets. It's part of investing in, entrepreneurs, investing in business owners. And what this does is it gives them an opportunity to get out of this situation they're in. And it's really, like I said, it's kind of sad to see in a lot, this is just one example we're using with Iran, but it's sad to see in a lot of these cases with sanctions that it's not their fault. Again, they didn't choose where they were born. They didn't choose the society they grew up in. Everyone is an individual, okay? So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but what I'm trying to say is where we're moving to is a society without these labels, without these borders, where even if you have these sanctions inbound, it doesn't matter because you can use the blockchain. Things like financial transactions are going to happen more on the blockchain. And I get a little emotional about this because I'm like, this is massive for the giant amount of people that are unbanked. The people that, that try and go to set up a bank account and they go, no, we're going to deny you. You're not allowed because you were born here. But these people, just because they were born here, they're allowed. Now, is this really fair? I personally don't think so. So that's why I'm not a giant fan of sanctions. I think they do have their place. But I think blockchain is going to fix a lot of these issues. So where blockchain is going to help is removing all of these basically guardrails. I was saying, these guardrails, breaking this down, and now everybody's on an even playing field, a true free market. Because with the blockchain, it's an open source ledger. Anyone can see it. Anyone can verify it. You don't have to trust. You can verify. So that's kind of the kind of tagline of the blockchain space is don't trust, verify. So if you enjoyed this video on sanctions, I apologize if it got a little, if I got a little like sidetracked, but I'm very passionate about this and I think it's quite interesting. Also, let me know if you want to see that video on investing in Iran. I think it will be interesting to potentially see if the audience wants to see something like this. But yeah, that was all for today. Thank you very much for watching. As always, invest global, like, subscribe button all, and until next time.